From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your Evening Update.
Well, we did it. And I'd say we did it because we made it through the heat wave. Today was the hottest, actually. Today was the peak of the heat wave. We were expecting it to be yesterday. In fact, I was expecting temperatures to drop by a few degrees today, but actually it was 1 degree warmer. In fact, we even broke a record. We broke the record at the Reading Airport of 112 set in 2006. A high today of 113. Now, I had a chance to head out to the Watermelon Festival out at their Haas Farm, and let me tell you, it was it was pretty hot out there. But I got to tell you, there are a lot of people out there just kind of braving through it, and it was a good time. I suggest if you didn't get a chance to get out there this year, I know it was the first annual, so I know they plan on making it an annual event, so maybe be sure to check that out again next year. All right, here's what you can see here. A lot of the high clouds that actually did move in, and actually that helped because temperatures peaked, and then they started to drop slightly as we saw those high clouds move in. Now, there's that 113, the high temperature, again, breaking the record of 112 set in 2006. Now, there were some other records that were close, like Chester was really close. I know Bernie was pretty close as well, but 107 degrees for Willows, 102 for hot today in Chico, and 108 in Orville. So it really just depends on where you are. All right, so here's the deal. The temperatures are dropping, and they will drop tomorrow. It won't be all that noticeable. It's still fairly hot. Tomorrow's the transition day between the extreme heat that we saw the last few days to the below normal temperatures. Yeah, we've got cooler temperatures next week, eventually dropping below normal, probably by Monday and Tuesday. In fact, here's the trend. So here's that transition day I was talking about for Reading, a high of 105 degrees for tomorrow. Notice the blue line here, that's 101 degrees, that's the normal high. We're actually going to be below that all next week, even into that next weekend. Looks like even on Sunday, 100 degrees, but I see a slight uptick in our temperatures as we kind of get into day 9 and day 10 of the forecast. Now, I want to also show you the fire potential, and it has increased as well over the last 24 hours. All of this area in brown basically means that there is a moderate risk. So essentially what that means is we got a combination of a few things that we're watching. Number one, the winds. They've been a little gusty at times, and the humidity. Now, we are actually not looking at the lowest humidity we've ever seen. In fact, humidity levels this year so far have been higher than we typically see. But that being said, it's still rather dry out there. So that's the reason why the National Weather Service has issued a red flag warning for Modoc County. Now, this is where I expect the winds to possibly be the strongest, and not to mention the lowest humidity. So I want to show you something here. Of course, again, the gusty winds and those dry conditions. Now, I want to show you the red flag warning criteria. And this is what we're really watching because we're not concerned about thunderstorms. That's not in the forecast. So it's number one here. Low relative humidity of 15% or less with frequent gusty winds of 25 miles per hour or higher. Now, both must occur for at least 3 hours in a 24-hour period. Now, here's the thing about the winds, and I want to show you here what's going to be happening with those winds in the dew point. We're going to take you, first of all, through Sunday morning. And there's Sunday morning. The wind's not that strong. It's Sunday afternoon that they start to pick up. But this is not when we have the red flag warning. It's not until Monday. So you see the winds are about close to 20 miles per hour. Humidity, you can see the humidity. We're kind of in the oranges and just barely within the reds here. So we're not really terribly dry. It's going to be dry, but we've certainly seen drier conditions out there. Now let's take you into Monday. Here's Monday morning, and you can see the winds calm as we typically see. But watch what happens as we go through the afternoon. We're probably going to be a little over 20 miles per hour. That's not the 25 mile an hour range that is in the criteria. So we are on the low end of the criteria for a red flag warning. And here's what I think what's happened. I think the National Weather Service saw that it's getting drier out there and those winds are starting to pick up and there's a bit of a concern. And I think that's why they've issued the red flag warning. Now, I want you to recall a fire weather watch from last week. They issued the fire weather watch. 2 hours later, they canceled it because the winds eventually ended up not going as high as they initially thought. So we'll have to watch that. Again, we're on the low end of the criteria for a red flag warning. But that all being said, bottom line, we are in the season where those winds start to pick up, those fires can spread rapidly. So we've really got to be careful and keep in mind that when the winds start picking up, we need to be extra careful out there. There's the smoke forecast. Things are actually looking better. All right, so here we take you into tomorrow morning. Not so great. Still pretty hazy out there. There's Sunday morning at 6 a.m. But watch what happens as we go through the afternoon on Sunday. A lot of that haze begins to move right on out. Here's Sunday at 5 p.m. And it looks like that haze is going to get a little bit better here across the board. All right, so here's what we have in store for us as we go into tonight and early tomorrow morning. Temperatures in the low to mid 70s, so still fairly mild for those overnight lows in the valley. And for the mountains, you can see we're going to steer clear of those triple digits, but still in the low to mid 90s for, say, Siskiyou and Modoc County, but in the eastern mountains in the mid to upper 90s for your daytime highs. Now, again, one of the saving graces of the temperatures today, even though it got really hot, was these high clouds moved in, and that did eventually allow our temperatures to start to drop a little bit because of that. Now, it was still very hot, bottom line, but this heat is going to be moving down to the south and east thanks to this cooler air right here, just kind of riding toward north through next week. And that's the reason why our temperatures are going to drop below normal through all of next week and even into that next weekend, because that cooler air is going to suppress that heat and push it down to our south. All right, so let's take a look at for tonight here. I kind of got a little button happy here. Here's what it looks like here for tonight. Temperatures low to mid 70s in the valley, and we're going to be in the 50s and even some 60s for the higher elevations. Now we take a look at our highs. Not quite as hot as it has been. We're going to be just over 100 degrees for places like Red Bluff, right around 100 degrees for Chico, Oroville, and still pretty hot in Redding, about 105 degrees. But you can see we're in the low to mid 90s for most of us in the mountains. However, in Susanville, still pretty hot at with a high of about 97 degrees. So looking at that 7-day forecast, here's Mount Shasta City. And again, you can see temperatures dropping down upper 80s, low 90s, all the way from Monday through that next weekend. El Turris, same story, upper 80s, low 90s. And then you can see by the time we get into Susanville, we're pretty much in the low 90s, most likely still at least 90 degrees, but still pretty warm for your Sunday. Here's your 7-day forecast for the valley. This is actually pleasant weather, comparatively speaking, right? Because, yeah, it's still pretty hot for your Sunday, but look at next week. There are no triple digits in the forecast for Redding, Red Bluff, or Chico. Now, granted, we could touch 100 degrees Tuesday or Wednesday, especially for Redding. But you get the idea. The normal high this time of the year is about 100 degrees, and we're going to be just below that. So we can actually say our temperatures will most likely be below normal through next week.